There's a sacred truth hiding in the pain you've been carrying. And no one told you. Maybe they couldn't. Maybe they weren't allowed to see it. Because what you've been calling punishment, what you've been labeling as too much, unfair, or why me is not destruction. It's confirmation. It's spiritual proof that you were chosen for something most people will never even be invited to feel. Your extreme tests are not a sign that something went wrong. They're a message from the unseen, echoing in your bones. You're being given access to something others cannot carry. And the only way to prove you're ready is to walk through fire without losing your soul. I'm not going to give you cliches. I'm not here to tell you everything happens for a reason or God gives the hardest battles to the strongest soldiers. No, this goes deeper. This is about understanding the architecture of spiritual testing. Is the mechanics, the energetic logic behind why some people seem to coast through life while you keep getting dragged into emotional battles, cosmic silence, inexplicable loss, and back-to-back initiations that no one around you seems to understand. You wonder if you're cursed. You wonder if you're broken. And I'm here to tell you, you're not. You're being activated for a higher assignment. And that activation doesn't come with a manual. It comes with a crucible. Let me ask you something that no one has probably ever dared to say out loud. What if your pain is intelligent? What if your repeated heartbreak, your betrayals, your isolation, your mental spirals, your financial breakdowns, your health scares, what if all of it is not chaos, but curriculum? A curriculum designed not to break you, but to burn away every identity that can't carry the divine frequency you've been chosen to anchor. You're not being punished, you're being refined, because what's coming for you isn't light and fluffy. It's reality-altering frequency, and only a soul that's been tempered in fire can carry that kind of vibration without misusing it.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
And here's the wild part. The more intense the test, the more obvious the truth becomes. You were never meant to be normal. You weren't sent here to blend in. You weren't designed to have a simple life. You carry codes, and those codes are dangerous to systems built on illusion. That's why it feels like life attacks you every time you start rising. Every time you clear one trauma, another wave hits. Every time you choose peace, someone brings chaos to your door. That's not coincidence. That's physics. Your vibration begins to shift timelines the moment you choose to stand in your truth. And the old matrix doesn't like that. So it tests you, not to stop you, but to see what you'll choose when no one's watching, no one's clapping, and it feels like everything is falling apart. These extreme tests, they are sacred contracts. But here's what most people don't realize: you agreed to them. On a soul level, before you came here, you said, I will carry this frequency. I will walk through what others avoid. I will transmute pain into power, fear into clarity, shame into sovereignty. And now, that contract is being activated. That's why the tests are ramping up. That's why it feels like you're being stretched to your edge. Because you are. And the edge is where the old you dies. Not because the universe wants to see you suffer, but because the next version of you, the real version, cannot be built on the scaffolding of survival. It must emerge from pure, tested, embodied truth. Let me tell you something personal. I've walked through tests that nearly destroyed me. Not metaphorically. I've been pulled into spiritual voids so deep I questioned if I'd ever feel light again. I've lost people I thought would be in my life forever. I've watched everything I built collapse overnight. And in those moments, I didn't feel chosen. I felt abandoned. But looking back now, I see it clearly. Every breakdown was a recalibration. Every loss was a release of what couldn't come with me. Every silence was a tuning fork, aligning me to a frequency I could only hear once I stopped screaming for answers. And now, I stand in a clarity that cannot be shaken, not because I'm special, but because I stayed when everything in me wanted to run. So now I'll ask you, what if the test you're currently in is not about surviving? What if it's about proving to the universe that you're finally ready to create from your true self, not your wounded self? What if the struggle is not a block but a mirror, showing you what still needs to be released so you can carry your next level of power without collapsing? You have to understand, power rushes in the moment you become vibrationally clean enough to hold it. And the tests, they're not punishment. They're filters. Only the real gets through. In the next part, I'm going to show you the 3 hidden laws of spiritual testing, the ones that explain why your life seems to intensify every time you level up. We're going to break down how to decode your current test, how to shift from emotional reaction to energetic command, and how to use your most painful experiences as accelerators for your soul's mission. You'll also learn how to identify the moment your test is about to end and how to pass it without repeating the cycle. Because you're not here to suffer. You're here to graduate, and the test is almost over. The hidden curriculum. 3 spiritual laws that explain why your life is so intense right before your breakthrough. Let's begin with the first spiritual law almost no one talks about, the law of compression before expansion. This is the universal pattern where everything contracts intensely, painfully, completely right before it expands into something new. You've probably felt this. Things get tighter. Time feels slower. Emotions surge. People leave. Opportunities vanish. It looks like you're regressing. But what's actually happening is that your energy field is being condensed and purified like a star before it explodes into light. You are being squeezed, not because you're failing, but because the old energetic residue, doubt, trauma, fear, false identity can't come with you. It has to be pressurized out. This law is brutal, but it's also divine. Every great mystic, warrior, and master went through it. And here's the secret: the tighter the compression, the bigger the expansion that follows. So if your life feels like it's closing in, you're not cursed. You're close. The second spiritual law is the law of frequency mismatch. This law explains why your life starts falling apart the moment you begin to raise your vibration. It's because your old reality, people, environments, jobs, habits was built on a lower frequency. And now that you're shifting, those structures can no longer hold you. So they break. Sometimes violently, sometimes silently, but always perfectly. This is why when you start healing, people ghost you. It's why you lose friendships that once felt like home. It's why your body starts reacting to foods, environments, or even music that used to feel normal. You're not being punished. You're being recalibrated. And the mismatch? That friction? It's a sign that your frequency is rising faster than your outer world can keep up. Don't panic. Don't cling. Let it fall. Because the new alignment is already on its way. You just need to become the version of you that can hold it. The third law is the most sacred, the law of divine observation. This law says that every time you're in a major test, when things are falling apart, when it feels like no one sees you, when it feels like even spirit has gone silent, you are actually being watched more closely than ever. Not in judgment, but in reverence. Your guides, your higher self, source, they're all watching to see what you'll choose when no one is clapping, when nothing is working, when the audience is gone. Because that's when your true frequency is revealed. It's easy to be spiritual when life is good. But when you're in the void and you still choose integrity, still choose to bless others, still choose to trust, that's when the divine steps back in. That's when your next level gets released. The silence isn't abandonment. It's observation before activation. Now, here's what most people get wrong. They try to escape the test before extracting the wisdom. But a test isn't something to run from. It's something to decode. Every extreme test you face is a mirror showing you what still needs to be seen, healed, or surrendered. If you're overwhelmed, the test is asking, where are you still trying to carry it all alone? If you're betrayed, the test is asking, where are you still outsourcing your worth to others? If you're stuck, the test is asking, where are you still living from fear disguised as logic? The moment you stop reacting and start reading your test, everything changes. You shift from victim to initiate. And that shift is what breaks the cycle. Because once the lesson is embodied, the test is complete. Not because it ended, but because you outgrew it vibrationally. So let me ask you something that could change the next decade of your life. Are you resisting the test, or are you letting it evolve you? Are you still asking, why is this happening to me? When the real question is, what part of me is ready to die so my true self can emerge? This is how initiates move. This is how warriors walk. This is how chosen ones rise. They stop asking for the test to go away and start asking for eyes to see what it's trying to give them. Because once you extract the code from the pain loses its power. And you emerge not just wiser but weaponized in the most sacred way. In the final part, I'm going to walk you through how to anchor your energy during your hardest tests, how to recognize the exact moment your breakthrough is close, and how to alchemize suffering into spiritual clarity so clean it becomes a blueprint for others. Because your test was never just about you. It was about who you'll become once you pass it and what you'll carry for the collective after. The final gate. How to anchor yourself in the storm and unlock the power hidden inside your hardest trials. There's a moment in every great spiritual test where everything goes quiet. No signs, no breakthroughs, no answers, just stillness. And it feels like death. But that moment, that terrifying, silent, empty space is not the end. It's the final gate. It's the space between who you were and who you're about to become. And most people turn back here. They panic. They rationalize. They run back to what's familiar, even if it hurts, because at least it's predictable. But you're different. You've made it too far to go back. And if you understand how to anchor yourself in this storm, you'll realize that the silence isn't evidence that nothing is happening, it's proof. that everything is about to change. Anchoring yourself during your hardest test is not about being strong. It's about being still. It's about choosing presence when your mind is screaming. It's about breathing into your body when your ego wants to escape. You don't need to solve the test. You need to stabilize your frequency within it. That means waking up and doing the basics like they are sacred rituals: grounding, hydration, rest, breath work. Not because they're trendy, but because they keep your field intact. When your life is collapsing, your job is not to fix the collapse. Your job is to make sure you don't collapse with it. Because the moment your field holds steady while the storm rages, the energy shifts. You become the eye of the storm, and from that center point, new realities get magnetized to you, not through effort, but through vibrational alignment. There's always a moment right before the breakthrough where something tries to pull you back. It might be an old pattern, a past lover, a self-sabotaging thought, a safe opportunity that would fit the old you perfectly. And if you don't recognize that moment for what it is, you'll think the universe is testing you unfairly. But it's not. That moment is your checkpoint. It's the final layer of the old timeline, trying to see if you'll opt back in. When it shows up, don't fight it. Witness it, bless it, and say, "I no longer belong to this frequency." That sentence alone, when spoken from your core, collapses entire energetic contracts that have kept you looping for years. And now we come to the real alchemy: how to turn your suffering into clarity. The truth is, the deeper your pain, the more pure your insight can become if you extract the lesson with presence. Every time you transmute pain into a principle, every time you turn confusion into a code, every time you turn loss into language that others can feel, you are not just healing. You are building spiritual capital. That's the currency of the soul. It's what makes people feel you before you speak. It's what makes you walk into a room and shift the atmosphere. It's why your presence becomes a portal. Because you're not guessing anymore. You know. And that knowing didn't come from reading. It came from bleeding and choosing to rise anyway. So now I ask you, in full truth, are you ready to stop identifying with the wound and start carrying the wisdom? Are you ready to stop praying for the pain to end and start asking what the pain is preparing you to hold? Because here's the ultimate secret: your test is the proof that you're vibrationally close to your next assignment. It's not a barrier, it's a birth canal. And the more you resist it, the more it hurts. But the moment you surrender not to defeat, but to the truth that you're being transformed, that's when the contractions give way to clarity. That's when the test becomes the temple. That's when your suffering becomes your strategy for the collective. You were never being punished. You were being prepared. You were never forgotten. You were being refined in silence. And now you're ready. If this message found you, it wasn't a coincidence, it was a confirmation. A reminder that your test is not your enemy. It's your initiation. Share this with someone who's in the fire right now. Someone who forgot they were being forged into something sacred. You're not here to break. You're here to birth something the world has never seen. And this test, it's the last gate before the arrival.